ladies and gentlemen. Extremely pleased to welcome you here at AXA Headquarters for this conference on long-term care. I understand that I had to miss the dinner last night, but effectively the conference started last night during the dinner, if I understand how already extremely important and those discussions during dinner were yesterday. I just want to give you my perspective on long-term care as the chief risk officer of this company. I think I don't need to convince anyone in the room that it is a very important topic for our societies, given the significant increase in life expectancy, and probably with that the fact that a growing number of people will need to be in long-term care because notably of cognitive deficiencies. I think it is also clear to everyone that insurance has a key role to play in this, because on one hand, states, given public finance, probably cannot fund long-term care, at least in many Western countries, also in emerging countries. And given extremely low interest rates, it's also probably extremely difficult for citizens to save enough money just in case they were affected by that kind of diseases. So mutualization and therefore insurance is absolutely central if we want to allow people in our markets, in our countries, to live a decent life if they suffer from such a disease. But the problem for us insurers is that it is probably one of the most difficult risks to price, given the complexities of the analysis. What I mean by this is that it is a very long-term risk. Clients pay premiums and start paying premiums probably when they are between 50 and 60 for something that will affect them 20 to 30 years later. So what we need to understand is what will be the world in 20 or 30 years on those aspects. And given the evolution of medical science, the world, I mean, if being very, very simplistic, can go in two opposite directions. Either we will be able to cure those diseases one way or the other, and therefore that risk will not be a risk any longer. And again, I'm very simplistic there. Or at the other extreme, we will not be able to cure them, but people suffering from those diseases will live much longer, and the life expectancy in bad health will increase significantly. And then the cost for us insurers will grow extremely significantly because we will have to pay for much longer the claims of our clients. So and anything in between those two extreme scenarios can occur. So that's why it's an extremely difficult risk for us. We have a key role to play as insurers, but we want to make sure that we price it adequately. In some instances, we all have our insurance policies for motor, for home, and so on, and we sometimes see that our insurer increases premiums. It is possible also to increase premiums for long-term care policies. But when you've been contributing for 20 years to that kind of policy, and suddenly, because your insurer realizes that prices were not sufficient, you get a significant increase in premiums, what do? Do you accept that premium? Or do you say, okay, I can't afford it anymore, and therefore everything that I have been contributing in the last 20 years is lost? So it's not only a matter of being adequate in our pricing so that we, as insurers, can make money, but it's also making sure that when we effectively offer a cover to our policyholders, that cover will be effectively there and affordable in 20 or 30 years. So we need to anticipate significantly how the world can change in the next 20 or 30 years on that risk. So that's the purpose of that conference. So what we want to do today is simple on paper. We want, by having gathered together academics, researchers, and AXA specialists, to have a better understanding of those risks. And I'll come to that in a second. We have different workshops on specific topics this morning to determine potentially a number of answers to the questions I raised. But what we would like to do through this conference is create a relationship between all of us, again, AXA specialists, researchers, that will last over time. Because as I said, it's not something that we can clearly define today and leave it as is for the next 20 years. That will be evolving with the progress of science, and we need to regularly take stock and understand whether our assumptions were right or wrong. So we would like to create within this group a lasting relationship so that we can further exchange in the coming years. We have the privilege of having in this room many different profiles, many different backgrounds, notably from the academic community, with demographers, economists, sociologists, and so on. I think it's a unique opportunity to share the experiences, share the knowledge from different angles. So I'm extremely happy to participate to that, to introduce it, and I think we can draw significant conclusions and potentially consequences, both for academics and for an insurer as AXA, with this conference. So we have three key questions that we want to deal with in our workshops. The first one is, I mean, it can sound very simple, but what is long-term care? What is dependence? When we go from one country to the other, the definition varies significantly. And we as insurers need to understand what we guarantee. So what is the definition of long-term care? Can it be made objective? And because obviously when it's not objective, it's even more risks for us. And I think having that definition is a first key step in the understanding of the risks and the pricing of those risks, of what we can guarantee and what we cannot guarantee. The second, and I referred to it a few times through the progress of medical science, is what can we expect? What can we expect in making sure that people who suffer from Alzheimer or Parkinson potentially will be cured, or that they will live a better life because they can be offered other benefits that will compensate the deficiencies coming from diseases. We need to be able to understand this. How can that evolve in the next 10, 20, or 30 years with science? And the third question is, it's a question on funding of long-term care. Are we better off investing money collectively? I'm not speaking of insurers in particular, but we're better off investing money in prevention or in providing services to the people that can suffer or suffer from those diseases. And you see that in different countries, between, for instance, Northern Europe and Western Europe, models are different. And where money is put varies significantly. So it's important to understand if it's about technology, it's about prevention, if it's about assistance to the people. So those are the three workshops that we want to have. And so I'm very happy to leave the room to Marion, who will tell us how practically we're going to organize this. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy your day.